students. It's nice. Corey, nice to meet you. Galaxy, nice to meet you. So I am let's say my expertise is in composition, right? So if it's songwriting, that's my current PhD. So I'm an expert in music structure. I am let's say my expertise is in composition, right? So if it's songwriting, that's my current PhD. So I'm an expert in music structure. I am let's say my expertise. Hello. Something went double here, right? Did you guys hear double also?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was double.
Okay.
You're good now. I think it was Thomas's mic.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's continue here. So today I'm going to be focusing on structure, storytelling, narrative, melodies, chord progressions, harmonic options, at the same time arrangement, layering, instrumentation, voicings. So this is pretty much the focus that I have, right? From the background that I have, what I can contribute more to your track. So I used to say that feedbacks are like the most difficult things to give to an artist when you're just working like this and you don't know the background. What is the goal with that track? So it would be good for us to have a little bit of a context of what you're wanting to have a feedback on, for us not to be so broad, right? It could be talking about a million things. So it would be good if you want to pick one topic for me to talk about, so that we have like a short time. We have just 15 minutes to discuss the track. So it would be good for us to be focused and then really contribute to you. Yes? About to start? Okay, so Thomas, I'm going to follow the order that you gave me here, okay? So the order that you sent me by email. So that's the one. It seems that we have a request to be the last one for Corey, right? You want to be the last one? Okay, sounds good. Okay, so let's go here. So I'm opening Maya's track first. So let me share my screen with you guys. Share screen. Broken lines. Maya, do you want to talk a little bit what you want for me to talk about from this track?
Gosh, I don't know. I think just general comments, I guess. I think it's my most cohesive track so far. I've been doing lots and lots of writing lyrics mostly, and used a lot of samples in this, but I also wrote a lot of the keys and the drums, and you know, it's an original song. That's it. General comments, observations. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start. So I have here your track. Play now.
Broken.
Just a question. Level is good? Yes?
Okay.
Yeah, all good. Coming back to the beginning here then.
Thanks.
Coming back.
Broken love, broken toys. You're not the only one alone in your room, feeling rejected, disconnected. You're not the only one alone in your room, feeling neglected, disrespected. You know you're alive, feeling pushed aside, lost.
Oops, I lost audio.
We had didn't go away. I hope we make it another way. Broken love, broken toys, broken boys and girls, broken world, broken lines, broken sky. You're not the only one. We got disconnected. You're not the only one alone in your room, feeling disaffected, disconnected. You're not the only one feeling unprotected. You're not the only one all up in your head. Did you ever think that you might have misled? We're disconnected, you might have misread. Broken love, broken toys, broken boys and girls, a broken world, broken lines, broken sky. You're not the only one. We got disconnected. If I'm getting through, you can too. Reach out and connect. Reach out and connect. I'll talk to you. I'm trying to live life, to remember my lines. Am I out of the loop? It's too hard to hide. It's too hard to hide. I'm not the only one, all alone in my room, wanting connection, feeling disconnected. All my old wounds spilled into new rooms. I lost so much time, I got left behind. The love we had didn't go both ways. Broken boys and girls, broken world. We can make it anew today. We can make it anew today.
Cool. Nice track, Maya. Nice to see
Thank
that.
you.
So we took the songwriting course like over a year already, right? Over a year.
Actually, I took another one. Oh God, I did the file, but now I don't know how to get back to you.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Let me come back.
God. Yeah, sorry about that. I can't seem to figure that out here.
Maya, don't say where you took another class at.
I won't. It was a private, it was sort of like a mentorship. It was very, very helpful because I was really addressing my issues of structure. And so I think I hit the nail on the head with this. And actually the one before but I listened to it so many times, I just cannot finish the mix because I'm out of my mind. But yeah. This is my first COVID song. I have 2 others that are in the works.
COVID.
And
Wow, I
yeah,
like
my quarantine
time.
response. Yeah.
Okay, I see. I would be happy to check the lyrics also. So, Maya, you have from the course that we took already, we have been talking about this, and I'm happy that you're taking on a path that is very particular to your music because you have a style of composition that is very unique, right? You have a background, even in classical music, we had already discussed this. So, you have a very rich approach to your arrangements, which is like many, many, many layers, right? So, the thing I really believe that on your tracks, I think that the challenge for you is really to design what is like for each section, what are the main instruments, what am I saying here, how to design a track in a way that I don't have to be the same instrument doesn't have to be talking the whole track through, so we can be designing some really like a story. I love the story of the approach of imagining a track as a film, right? So we are really designing a story there. So we are using sounds to this idea of combination of design and composition, which is, am I telling the story? What needs to come here? What needs to leave? And what I feel from your track is that super interesting, but right in the middle, I start to get lost because there are too many layers there. So I really think that it would be way more clear for the idea of the song. You can use that as an effect because when an instrument comes to the track, it changes the vibe, or it's supposed to do, right? So it's creating a scene there. So that scene needs to be clear of what is the instrument that I'm needing here. I like to work with the idea of, am I needing more movement, more rhythm? Am I needing more atmosphere, or so more harmonies? Am I needing more text? then I add more melodies, right? Because if I am adding multiple melodies and multiple layers of the same thing, I start getting too busy and too overwhelming for the listener to have a million things doing melody, a million things doing rhythm, a million things doing atmosphere. So it is very interesting for you to design. Sometimes, for example, the introduction of a song, and do have here, sometimes I just need what? Rhythm and one atmosphere. And then in the
Okay.
middle, I need more atmosphere. Then I'm adding more layers of harmony. You have many amazing harmonies happening there in the middle that I was like, oh, I wish I could hear that keyword more, right?
Okay.
But then
Okay.
it was in the middle of a mass of things there.
Okay. I hear you.
And then
Thanks.
I wanted really to hear that keyword like more clearly and seeing that, that's interesting. So it's sometimes it's not
Mm,
you to bring something, and even so your track has lyrics also like most of the time. And also I was feeling some moments like, can I have a moment that I have no vocals and then I can listen a little bit more to this instrumentation here, right? So, and that thing happened too shortly there in the middle. And I was like, oh, I wish I could also
uh,
more of this instrumentation, right?
yeah. I'm actually not going for that. I'm really looking for a pop structure
Oh, you're
right
looking.
now, which
Okay.
is almost zero space. It's
Okay.
bum 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 bum. It's verse, chorus, pre-chorus, chorus.
Right.
Verse, chorus, etc. Bridge, and so that's I'm really looking to make it really tight. The only thing I appreciate the comments about too many instruments in the middle. I will definitely look at that. I already took out some stuff. I appreciate what somebody said about my groove. I got a digital drum machine finally, and it was very, very helpful for me to build a groove and then chop it up and remove what I didn't want, etc. And is the bridge still. So I might add some vocal ad libs. There's space there. I wanted that to be a bit dark. And if anyone has any comments about that, um, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I felt like there were definitely like sections that were discernibly different from one another, but because basically just to add on to what Candida was saying, just because the instrumentation was so consistent throughout, it was easy to kind of you're kind of like behind what's going on because you're like, wait, is this a new section? Yeah, it actually is a new section.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think if you're going for a pop structure, they have very distinct sections
Yes,
with
yeah.
very different instrumentation. And
Yeah,
stuff.
I noticed. I actually did link the pre-chorus with the chorus, and I think the difference between the chorus and the verse was distinct, but leading up into the chorus was maybe not as distinct as it could be. I don't know. You can't see the lyrics because, sorry, I didn't make that happen. But that's a good observation. Thanks.
So I would suggest like a methodology that we do, for example, in other genres, and in studying like technically composition is like creating graphics in which you kind of create a map for you, so you
Mm,
understand what is going on in the. It's almost like a timeline from Ableton or Logic, but you really create a timeline in which you analyze what is happening on this section, what is happening on this one,
yeah.
how am I transitioning between sections? What is like the lead thing here? Sometimes the vocals plus one specific instrument. What is happening here? So then you have a graphic. You have a kind of a timeline in which you
Hmm.
understand your idea. You have a map, right? So
Cool.
almost like the mind map of a track. I use this technique a lot on my works here, especially when you design long form works, like for example for films or for long form installations. So long forms, especially, you need to understand this, which I also suggest if you're creating an album, having this in between your tracks also. So then you can create a nice way. That's what we
Hmm.
use to create. For example, sometimes I'm working with DJs that I'm working on preparing their playlist for a DJ or a show, right? How we design the energy of a show or the energy of an album if you're not releasing singles, right? So how we build this energy so you can work in the kind of a microcosmos like in the track, and also
Yeah.
for the long form work like an album or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Thanks. All really good comments. Thank you very much. I will fine tune that.
very nice.
Thanks.
I'm looking
Thank
forward
you, everybody.
to the result.
Thank you.
Should we move forward? Somebody wants to say anything? Anybody here?
About the last track?
Could be if you want to add something to her.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I thought the instrumentation was really cool. However, and I'm not God's gift to songwriting by any means, and but I think you have to think about it kind of like a movie. Like imagine you have a movie scene where a bunch of characters are being introduced. If everyone walks on camera at the same time, you don't care about any of them because they're all coming out together. So you're just like, oh, okay, I get that there's a group. And if they all start talking at the same time, it's like, I don't know who I'm supposed to listen to, so I'm going to tune everybody out. Versus if you watch like some of the more well-scripted, like really scripted ensemble introduction scenes, you'll notice that everybody comes in, they have a distinct moment and a distinct line and a distinct like, hey, I'm the guy who does this. And then they pass the camera to someone else. And I feel like you have a lot of really dope instruments. And I think you should think about, okay, where is each of their moment and when do they come in and when do they kind of fall back and give the spotlight to someone else? Because especially if you're doing pop music, right? Like
Okay.
I'm listening to pop music, I'm only paying attention to two things: the lead vocalist and whatever the most important instrument is besides the lead vocalist for that couple of seconds. So like, if you have a sick drum fill, it's like, all right, dope. I'm listening to the lead vocalist and the sick drum fill, and then I'm gonna tune the drums out. But if you have everybody going off at once, I don't know what I'm supposed to listen to. And when a listener gets frustrated, they leave. Like that's the first thing they do. So that's just my little too quick.
No, it's good. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of the same. It's still an issue with too many instruments, which is, I've only been doing this for about a year now. So I think I made progress, but I can certainly make more. And I really appreciate all the comments.
Maya, let me add something for you. So knowing your background and what you have been producing, and I never heard from you, like I'm focusing on pop music, so that's the first time that we are hearing this. Let me suggest you something there. We have amazing pop artists. Let's talk about references here also. It's very important for us to talk about this. So I really suggest you looking and sticking to the idea of avant-garde pop music, experimental pop, right? You're not an artist that's going to be creating like obvious pop music, especially from all the background you have. I think it's something that you can contribute so much to the pop scene, bringing the fusion that you have in your story, in your life. So look into artists like, I would say the trip hop has many amazing artists. Look into Bjork, look into many artists, it's like, so look into them, that they have a lot of, they are commercial, but at the same time, they are not obvious. So I wouldn't.
No, I don't think you understand what I didn't make myself clear, and I'd like to clarify that. I'm very clear that my music is weird and my lyrics are it's very different. I hate stupid songs. I'm not anti anything, but my goal is to make my songs more accessible. And I experimented with this tight structure in this last mentorship that I did. And it was very exciting to me. And it really felt like it helped make the music, the lyrics and the ideas more accessible, and that it would be a good format for me to work with, especially bringing in, well, you'll hear, I have a very weird song that I'm working on now. I mean, you would say it's weird, for me it's not. But I'm gonna try to keep it in a tight structure, and I will keep in mind everything everyone said about instrumentation. You mentioned Bjork, and I don't particularly like her work. I mean, I like her work, but I don't like her the vibe. I don't like her voice, but it doesn't matter. I very much appreciate her moving forward with her originality, and that's really important to me. You mentioned that, and you're not the first person who mentioned her with regard to my work. So
right. Another name that I relate also is like Larry Anderson is another name that,
Laurie Anderson. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
right.
And I love spoken word. So, for me, I think the structure is helpful for a listener. So, this is all really great stuff. Thanks.
Cool. Nice. Jeff added something there also. Okay, moving forward here. Let me see who's the next one here in my list. It's Corey's track, SoundCloud again.
Oh, we have to save that one for the end, because I didn't ask the singer for if I could stream it. I didn't know it was going to be on YouTube.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me go for the next one. Conrad's, is it Galaxy S10, Conrad's?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, am I saying right your name, Conrad?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, cool. So wanna give us a little bit of context for about your track, what you want to reach with this one? What is the genre you wanting to? Oh, sorry, you already started playing. Wait. And you wanna talk a little bit, give us some context for your track?
So I did this track during a class I was taking, and the main focus was to write the lyrics before you actually do the arrangement and the track. So I wrote the lyrics first and then started to make the music for it. And so my problem with this track is that I try to build the music around the lyrics, and at some point I got stuck because I ran out of ideas what to do next and what I could possibly add to the track. So it's kind of starting very thin and just with a guitar, and then it adds over time till the end more and more musical stuff in the background. And I think in the end it's a little bit too much of instruments playing at once. And now I'm working on to separate these instruments and to give each one a certain space in the song. And yeah, that's the main focus I'm taking now, to rearrange the track, to get new ideas how to bring it to life.
What is the genre that you're focusing here?
Yeah, some kind of classical rock or maybe folk. It's yeah, difficult to describe, but it's kind of a rock genre, I would say.
Okay, you have the lyrics to share with us?
I have a Google Drive link. I can share it in the chat. I hope it works.
If you can, or share here the file or something. So it's interesting. So the process of, I would say that starting from lyrics to go to the song, it's the most difficult process that we have in general, the most complex. In general, people come up with things more intuitively, like together, like lyrics and melody. This is something I do a lot. In my process, is the most difficult one that I do. So it is a challenge for you to. At the same time, the lyrics it kind of shapes the song because it already if you did in a classic format of poetry in which you have the verses structure and then you're designing a melody for that, so it kind of frames the composition, right? It sculpts the thing. Especially in electronic music in general, people start from the track or from the beats, from the harmonic structure, harmonic and rhythmic structure, so then later we add the lyrics later. So interesting to see the reverse process, in which is more common in pop music. Cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a challenge for me because normally I do it the other way around. I make some musical foundation, and then I write the lyrics. So
Okay.
it was kind of a challenge for myself to do it the other way around.
Okay, cool. So I am if you guys want to follow the lyrics also, there will be interesting. I am going to be downloading this. Okay, let's start listening to the track. So sharing my screen again. I think that's this. Are you guys seeing Schoenfeld? Schoenfeld?
Oh, that's my one that we're.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Bring this out. Now this. Broken lines. No, that's Maya. What happened? Okay, so something happened here. Oh, because that's there is nothing to stop in the sharing screen. Okay. Oh, in fact, I'll share the lyrics so we all can see the lyrics here. No, here. Yeah. Let's see this one here. Cool. You seen the lyrics? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear the song here.
You brought me a sheet, and its cold will hold me warm, for the sun has gone away. Oh, you brought me a cow, now I'm drinking on my own, with a milk from sorry cows. You brought me some gold, and they bleed about our loves, which we never would have had. And the dogs you brought now waddle all around my distraught mind. You got me laughing evermore. Since you're gone, I'm stuck here with your livestock. Since you're gone, it's the only thing I have. Since you're gone, with a herd without a leader, straying on across the land to search a home. You left me and the pigs wallow in the moss and deep, with me moaning for a heart. And the hands you love playing lonely acts for me to choose, which will pick me up today. The penguins feel so lonesome since the ice has turned to mist, and the fish have left the sea. Oh, the worst thing are the kittens which remain here without you. Who will keep them safe and warm? Since you're gone, I'm stuck here with your livestock. Since you're gone, it's the only thing I have. Since you're gone, with a herd without a leader, straying on across the land to search a home. All this lonely heart of mine gather round here on my farm. All these foolish hawks, silly cows, stupid cats. I'm the only one who's missing is just you. Since you're gone, I'm stuck here with your livestock. Since you're gone, it's the only thing I have.
Oh, very interesting. I'm keeping the lyrics up here, okay?
We sing happy
Oh,
birthday
sorry.
to
Oh my
you.
goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so complicated. It's so dangerous, right? Sharing screen is something always so dangerous. Okay, good. Okay. Um, so Conrad, first, like nice transition that you created between the I mean the structure that you did, the transition between going just from lyrics to melody and song. Question for you: do you have a band here playing, or are they all virtual instruments? You recorded,
It's
right?
all virtual instruments, so yeah, it's not a real band.
Okay. So I am here assuming that final sound is not discussed yet, right? You're not with your final sound.
No, it's like a work in progress.
Okay. So there are a lot of things we could talk about sound here, but I would suggest I'm going to be focusing on structure, right? As I discussed. There are a lot of things like also like in the mix, understanding a little bit better the structure and the sound of each instrument that is not clear for us yet, right? So talking about the structure, first, I like the theme of the song. I like the vibe that you created with the text. We could go a little bit more deep, like into the combination between the words, the rhymes. Here, some structures that I think that could have a little bit more of an interesting end. But I'm going to talk like as a more broad thing. So bringing the thing to rock, right? Rock, folk, as you said, like classic rock, folk. We have a way more open structure than a rigid pop song, right? I like a lot the idea that you are playing around with the structure a little bit. Although there are two things that I would say here. I still miss a little bit more of a transition between verse and chorus. We don't have a pre-chorus here, which you don't have to, but something that helped me understand that I'm transitioning the section that could come from. I know that the last line you make an ascending movement there, but maybe if the arrangement can help us understand a little bit more the transitions between these two sections, right? The preparation of a chorus is something so important that we need to give a little bit more emphasis to this moment. Then you have a very long chorus, right? That has like 8 verses, right? So it's
Yes.
almost like a verse, right? It's a long chorus, which is something that I would say the more pop we are, in general, we go for something more straightforward. That is like, it's something that is the scream, is something that is more powerful for people to remember that. And here we have a verse, right? Which is, if you're not worried about doing something very popular, absolutely, right? Because rock has this freedom. I like a lot the genres around rock that they are so free in terms of experimentation and all that. I'm not saying for you to change this. I'm just saying that this is going to be something of the identity of this song, and it's not going to be um, there's the potential for this to be not so sticky is because of the chorus could have something shorter. So every time we do a chorus that is way longer, so we kind of dilute the hook, right? So I don't get so. Although that first sentence is the first verse, the first line is very good. Since you're gone, that one is good, right? And I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I really don't like the transition between the third and the fourth because we create a gap in terms of there is a silence, like a huge silence between the third and the fourth, that I would suggest you to anticipate a little bit the fourth or something like that in terms of creating a flow of energy in the track, right? How I connect my lyrics in a way that I am keeping my audience connected to everything that is happening. So the line there is broken between the third and the fourth. We have a gap there. So maybe reviewing that, right? So that was my main thing. Also, the other thing, pop, rock, folk, we have a lot of space for instruments. And then I really wanted um, to have more time to listen to the instruments. Probably before verse 2, right? Having that solo there right? I really wanted to have that guitar soloing somewhere, and I didn't have time to listen to that, right? So, or, maybe, after the bridge or before the bridge. So finding a place in which I can hear those instruments. So I would bring also the comment that we did to Maya, that is like, who is the main character here, right? So creating a different scene in which I can feel more your band. I was really wondering this. So this is a track that you could totally play live, right, with the band. And then how would that be if I had a quartet playing this track? I was wondering that if it's an organic band playing, the arrangement would be a little bit different. I like a lot to think on the music production. Doesn't matter which genre. I know that electronic music is a little bit more difficult, but how would this be if it was live and played by instruments? So I think that this brings a lot the feeling of something very alive, very organic, and also helps us make a transition for you to be able to perform, right? A lot of songs, a lot of producers, they create things that they are not going to perform, but like ultimately that's what we are going to be doing as musicians. If you're wanting to perform, it's something for you to consider also, because if not, also the transition gets too far, like how to create a track that can be performed, and like creating this back and forth environment. Let's see what else we have from other folks here. Does it help you, Conrad? You want to ask something specific here? Want something more specific?
Yeah, actually, it really helps me because I was already thinking about to shorten some parts of the song because it's already a pretty long track, and I really want to bring in this lead guitar sound, the solo of the guitar. And so my workaround for this was to combine the lead guitar with the bridge part and the last chorus. But I really wanted to bring this lead guitar in, so maybe I shortened the last chorus to give space to the lead guitar in the end. And but the fear that I have is that the last chorus is a little bit too it's a little bit empty without the vocals and just with the lead guitar. So that's why I kept both in the last chorus.
Which I think it is a nice idea. The track is, I would say, so Maya is commenting here something about the verse 2. So this is a kind of I like that again. Rock has a lot of freedom in terms of form, right? It is a little bit longer track, so with more reason you need to really to create something that creates an interesting scene for each section. I still like the idea of having vocals together with the guitar, right?
Okay.
But I really would like to have one, if we go to classic bands, rock bands, which this track relates a lot to that. I'm trying to remember one song that I have in mind here. Well, it's going to come. So we still have long tracks. Sometimes we have rock songs like of 8 minutes, right? 8, 9 minutes. You go for Pink Floyd, oh my goodness, 10-minute song, right? So it's amazing how these guys can handle such a long track. How can I, hold your attention for that long? It's really the transition, the scenes, the section. So I do think that you can keep a track that is long. You can still add solo that, but then the production has to be very smart in terms of bringing in and out instruments, creating transitions, changing sounds, and so then you can still keep this length of your track. What people want to say here? Who wants to add something here?
It's very, very, very pretty music and melody. I think the bridge needs to be a little bit more contrasting. In my mind, that's all, but it's a very pretty song. I would shorten it a bit. Good structure.
I think my critique for the song is I think that if I'm a listener, I'm a third party, and I'm witnessing you lamenting your relationship. A relationship is something that two people share. And right now, to me, it sounds like you're dating a ghost, because I don't know anything about this person. I don't know why you like them. I don't know why it was even important to you in the first place that they left. For all I know, this could be your brother, your sister, who left these cows and animals to you. I don't think that's what you're trying to get across. But what I'm trying to bring up is that somewhere within the song, I think that you should bring a little bit more about who is this person that you're missing and why do you miss them. Can you show us a memory when you guys were to get together? Is there a remnant of the relationship that you're pining over besides the animals? Or like, can you talk about a memory that you and the animals share with the person? Because if I'm a third person, and imagine if I met you and you on the bus and you were telling me about, oh, I just went through the worst breakup, but you didn't tell me anything about the person. It's like, I'm like, oh, I feel bad for you, but I don't really care about your relationship. But if as soon as you give me any details to hang on, I'm like, oh, I've been through something similar. I'm thinking about the girl that left me last week, because I can relate. So I just would look for places where you can make it personal, because that's what's really going to make people invested, rather than being like, oh, that was a cool song.
Okay.
Let me add to this. So interesting, because I judge and I analyze works from so many different genres, right? So I work in the university with people like in college for composition. I receive a lot of material, and one of the things that we try a lot to do is not to interfere in a work like this that is ready, right? So he presented here a long form structure of a poem. And one of the things that we do is like, instead of going like, change this, change that, is that, how can I make this work? So it's not something that is like, is it breaking, is missing that idea? That definitely that is missing, but that's a mystery that for me works in the favor of this song. It's just like taking this as a consideration, that is, I am missing this other information. And is it in purpose? Because if that is in purpose and you like that idea, that is, there is a gap on that, just play with that, just use that strategy to give more energy to your arrangement somehow. Maybe that could be, I don't know, another solo that is dialoguing with that, instead of us always wanting to change something from the song. You understand? When I present something like that, it is like, first thing that I try to do is, can I respect the original idea in a way that this works, and I don't have to change anything? If the artist doesn't want to change, how can this work? So then I think it becomes more, let me say the word, no, it's not respectful, but it's like more original to the, more faithful to the original idea. Having this aware, and then having this as also as an element for him to compose something else in the future. It's like, do I have two characters? Am I making the story super clear? It doesn't have always to be. We can play around with mystery a lot. We can play around with the idea of breaking rules. Verse 2 doesn't have to be shorter than verse 1 always, right? How can I make verse 2, that is a long one, as long as verse 1, work? How can I make this be interesting for the listener? So more importance to the arrangement, more importance to the music production, maybe a new instrument coming up there, maybe having an instrument that represents this character that is missing from the track. You understand? Maybe they can be playing around. For example, you have a male voice, which is around their C3, right? That is in there, C3, a little bit of C4, the octave 4. Then what is that? Is there another instrument that is representing that character? So playing around with sound, not always with an obvious idea. When I say obvious ideas, like a text saying this is this, this is that. Could be something very metaphorical, right? So very abstract, and trying to let the composer keep it the original idea, right?
Okay. Guys?
So when I let me say something about it, because when I was writing the lyrics, the task I challenged myself with was to write the lyrics not too obvious, so that the listener can take part in the song by adding their own momentum to the song, like their own minds, their own thoughts about, okay, what happened to this person. And the other thing was that I wanted to do it like, get it in the beginning, it's very simple lines, like it's a sheep, it's a cow, that's all animals from the farm, and then I in the first two, I wanted to get to an extreme with the idea, like adding animals that don't necessarily are on farms, like penguins or fish or a kitten. So to get the listener to actually have kind of a smile on their face, and it's like, oh, okay, now he's going crazy. He's talking about penguins. Why the penguins there? And on top of all of that, there are the kittens, and everybody loves kittens. And then, okay, now they're alone. And that was the idea behind these two verses I wrote.
My thought, that's interesting. My thoughts would be then, it would be clearer, that contrast, if you didn't start verse 2 with more farm animals that you expect.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, more farm animals, and then it's like, wait, penguins. So
I agree.
I think that if you're going for that as like the thing that you want people to like pick out, then I would make the whole verse like different in that way.
Clever, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Good idea.
That's the point. Yeah.
I would also say that, I don't know, but you could, like, back to Candida's point about the potentially shortening the chorus. Like, to me, since you're gone, I'm stuck here with your livestock, and since you're gone, we're the herd without a leader, or like the core of the chorus, because the other ones just kind of replicate the same idea. So since you're gone, it's the only thing I have is just a restatement of something more evocatively put with, I'm stuck here with your livestock. And then straying all across the land to search for a home is restating, we're the herd without a leader. But I think we're the herd without a leader is a clever, more evocative way of saying that same thing. So I think you could just have those 4 lines and you get the same message across more concisely.
I'd like to say something about the chorus. I think the chorus needs to be repetitive in order to help stick in your mind. And I think that it's not bad that he's repeating lines. I think it creates a kind of a psychic rhythm, if you will. Just for me, I'd just like to make that comment. I don't think it needs to be shorter. It could, but I think that the idea of repetition is powerful. That's all.
I just wanted to say really quick. I just want to say I wasn't, with my comments before, I wasn't trying to disrespect or like disregard your idea. However, if I was like, if you hired me to produce a song with you, and just if I read these lyrics and I was gauging what I think you're trying to convey, I would, as a producer or whatever, I'd be challenging you to see whether you can take the emphasis of the loneliness off of like using words like lonely, the penguins feel so lonesome, the fish have left the seas. And if you could take that and be able to convey that with your experience or with other images that feel more unique to you. And they don't have to be specific. You can be vague and unique at the same time, but just like, instead of saying, I think I'm just saying show, don't tell.
Yeah, that's right. These show, don't tell. Actually, I heard it before and from others, and I'm not sure if I get it right. So everybody is talking about this show, don't tell in your lyrics, but I'm at a point where I don't know, okay, am I doing it right? Am I showing something or just telling something? So that's for me, it's pretty hard to write lyrics to follow this rule.
Let me, have you finished, Conrad? No.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So let me just add here, Corey, something for us, because we are all learning and studying about composition and music production the whole time. And sometimes we're dealing with mentors. I deal with mentors also. I mentor people also a lot. And one of the things that we need really to be clear the whole time is this: am I consistent with my idea? Do I have to change? What is this change for? For example, if you are learning to produce something for the industry, and then you have a script to follow, and you have a minute to give a message with a track, that's a different thing. But if you're doing artwork, if you're considering like your original career, and if you're wanting to be a little bit more innovative, experimental, or a little bit more free with your music, it's so important for you to understand your idea. And when dialoguing with the mentor, it is being sticking to your original idea if you're clear about that. Or maybe I think it's good for us to listen about rules and structure and something like that, for us to be able to break them when it's time to break. So the rules and the structure, they're very useful, very, very useful to speed up process, to make you more connected to a market. But at the same time, they are jail. So we need always to be in dialogue with our own orientation and external orientation the whole time. Is that thing, um, is this information helping me structure more my work, in the direction that I want? Because if I'm looking for more freedom, if I'm looking for more experimentation, then maybe that is not something that is helping me. So that's why I said that feedbacks are so difficult to give, because it depends where you are and where you want to go. If not, we are creating, like tons of rules, and in the end, I am like, I'm about to write, and then am I, we are full of doubt. And for us as creators, we do have to have some idea and some experience on being able to dialogue with your idea and saying, no, that's what I want. So I do want the chorus long as it is right now. Do I have to make that a short one? I was here exactly. I remember the example that I had in mind, and it's Holiday from Scorpions. So Conrad, take a look to this one later. I think that has a instrumentation and a production. Although the lyrics are absolutely different, the story is different, everything is different. There is something that track in that production that, for me, in my mind, relates to the story here. Would be good for you to see how they transition. It's a long track, how they transition between scenes with instruments similar to this instrumentation that you have. You guys are going to see, I love to work with references a lot. So I listen to a lot of music. And I think it's very important for you to have a track to dialogue with in your composition, so that you can, like be listening instead of just following, formulas or ideas. Listen to music, check your idols, check what you have there, like what the real world is proposing in terms of music, right?
Candida, I have a quick question. I know we probably have to move on probably
Sure.
pretty soon. But so for me, I'm just curious, it's been a long time since I worked with music, like lyrical music. But if the chorus is supposed to be the main part of the song, and the chorus's main lines are about livestock, but then the second half verses are animals that aren't livestock, doesn't that kind of negate like the PowerPoint of the whole song?
One of the strategies that we do is contrast. You can
So that
propose an
works
idea.
fine.
Yeah, sometimes it does work nice. It is something. So if you want to be super clean and super nice, yes, that's a contradiction there.
Because
But
it's
then
like
having a verse,
livestock and herd. Yeah.
yes, but then if I'm expecting something like more farmy way, and then the second verse creates a contrast that is
Okay.
interesting. Look at that. Look at this. I just brought a surprise to my track. So I think it can, so I would say the rule is, yeah, be consistent with the whole track, like talk about the same thing. But at the same time, verses too, especially a long one like this, bring a whole new idea for me to be interested on your work. So I like the idea that Jeff says, okay, so bring maybe inverting that, or like restructuring that to bring the contrast right to the beginning of verse 2, so that I understand. So now it's a new moment in my track. So I'm like talking about something a little bit different. It's a farm that has, penguins. So what is that? So, like I am renewing the attention of my listener, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move. Conrad, thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for replying and for the great feedback. I saw that you are writing in the chat, and I will read it now because I can't talk and read at the same time. So forgive me for not replying. But thanks for your feedback. It was really helpful, and for all the great ideas. Thanks.
Thanks, Conrad.
Okay, let's go to our new one. So my next one is going to be, sorry if I'm saying something wrong. Dawson's.
Yeah.
Dawson is here.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah. Deshaun.
Deshaun. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We all mistake with names here. My name is not Candida either, so I forget. I feel like I'm already, I have the right, sorry. So let's see here. So we have your track here. Do you want to give us a little bit of the context of your track?
Really, it's just an instrumental track. I do a lot of these kinds of theatrical, like, hard hitting kind of beats. I just figured maybe I could get some feedback on it today.
Sounds good. So you're looking for an instrumental track? Can you narrow a little bit more than the genre that you want to include your track on?
It would it's hip hop. Yeah, it's a hip hop type of beat.
Okay, hip hop. Okay, cool. Let's listen.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it sounded that way on your end, but like it sounded way more distorted than it actually is.
Okay, so let me try to play from Spotify.
Okay.
Okay, so let me check. Is it that short only also? Is it just a clip?
No, it's 2 minutes 40 seconds.
Okay, so King of New York, is it this one? Okay. Oh, it's a totally different thing. Yes. Okay. So I'm opening from Spotify now. Is it the track? This can you guys see the track? No. I think I need to share another one, another screen, because I was sharing here. Now I'm sharing my Spotify. Yep. Is it this one, King of New York?
Yeah, this one.
Okay, cool. Let's go. Sorry, beginning. Yeah, cool. Okay, Sean. So tell me a little bit. So this track is already on Spotify, right? So you consider this already, it's a released work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you use this for it's a single, it's part of an album, it's is it a song track for something that has image? What is this work about?
Uh, really, it was just to it was to incorporate that sound of New York, like the title implies, but take it in my own direction, try to make it a lot more hard hitting. Go like I said, going back to those theatrical effects I like to add, just like what Corey said in the I seen your comment. I like to add a lot of those kinds of um like risers, white noises, try to give it that spaced out feel too. I try to incorporate a lot of elements to that.
Right. So I'll give you my impression here, right? That it's like I know this is a released work, so giving feedback on something that is already in the market, it's something a little bit more, tricky for us to talk on something that is already there. So I totally understand the hip hop scene that we have this stable harmony there that is not changing. So we're not really having any kind of change in terms of harmonic movement happening there. But I would be interested on understanding where that was leading us to, like a second scene of something new coming up in the middle. I was the whole time waiting for something to give me a new moment, right, on the track, and that didn't happen. So I think that one of the nice things when we are having something that doesn't have vocals is that the instruments they need to play the role of a lead singer, right? Like the main character. So transitioning between that because you have a riff that do, do, da, do, 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 da, do, do. That thing that plays a lot the role of the most important instrument there. But the whole time I was waiting for maybe a breakdown or a drop or something like creating some nuances in the track, like really like shaping the arrangement into something different. And I thought I was going to hear that in some moment, and that didn't happen. So that would be my general comment about this, like maybe a next step for your experimentation as a producer to create something that has more dynamics in your arrangement, in your storytelling. Somebody wants to add something to what I said? Is there anybody?
I mean, to me, it sounded like it could fit between two other things. Sort of
Mm-hmm.
this like weird, kind of disorienting transition. Like the whole thing kind of felt like this, like a disorienting transition, which could be cool if it was between two other things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I basically agreed with your comments that I wish that there was like a B part or something.
I
I
think you can go.
and what I said, look, we try to be the more we can sticking to the original idea of the composer or the creator, which is this a movie? Is this a video clip? Because that could be. So maybe there is another layer of information. Sometimes it's not just the music. So that is a music made for something else. And if there is image, then it's a different scene because then we have an image that is telling another story. Sound sound needs to play a big role of one of the importance of something is to design the storytelling, keeping my attention, creating transition, creating contrast, evolving scene. So and this is one of the things that would be good, although hip hop has a lot of I know that we have, but then the other layer design contrast on something.
Yeah.
Corey, you want to say something? You made a
Yeah.
gesture. Yeah,
I
sure.
actually wanted to say, like, I actually really respectfully disagree with a lot of the points. I think that like you have music that comes from a lineage of like a J Dilla, a Flying Lotus, a Madlib, a DiBiase, a Knowledge, where that's the point is not really progression so much as it is to put you in the middle of a vibe and to like keep you there. Like, you know, you might listen to Fall in Love by J Dilla, that's like an 8-bar loop that doesn't change that much over the course of 2 minutes, but you get locked in this vibe, like a hypnotic vibe, and you stay there. And that's like what maybe this lane of beat music is trying to emphasize. But I think that when you're composing in that form, and like I started off making those style of beats before I moved to what I do now. So I feel like I spent like maybe 4 or 5 years in it. And there's a lot of small techniques you use, like dropping the beat, like incorporating clips of somebody talking about a vibe that you're trying to get across, like flipping the sample backwards, like taking the sample out and just letting your drums run for a little bit. There's these little tiny techniques you can pick up all over the place on how to keep somebody locked in this groove. Because this, like as a beat maker, you're not really concerned about, I'm trying to get you from point A to point B. You're saying like, I was in New York, I felt like a king, and this is what it felt like. And this is the groove, this is the, I want you to get locked in this feeling for a little while. But there are little tiny things you can do. I would really recommend the producer Knowledge just dropped a tape called 1988. He's like one of my favorite producers who works in the style. You know, he just chops one pretty simple loop, but he finds all types of ways to keep you immersed in it without changing that much. And I think I agree that this could be a segue for something else. I agree that it could go to a B section if you felt so inclined. But if those are not things you're interested in doing, there are like little beat making techniques you can pick up from other producers that you can incorporate yourself into these beats without having to like go back into your session too deep. So that'd just be my 2 points. But that's just like my respectful opinion on it.
But I don't think we disagreed. I think we talked about the same thing. I don't think we need to change the structure of the composition. I think that's he created something that there is a ground, but we said about the same thing. How can we, inside this strategy or this idea, create some nuances that keeps me attracted to the track, right? So when you said about creating some drops, so when we said about creating transitions in the arrangement, that's exactly this, inside the genre without losing the hip hop structure here. But how can we do this in a way that something is happening different inside the track? Who is playing a different role here? Am I dropping the beat? Am I bringing a new instrument and making that makes like, or a noise from the city or something? How can we design the composition to tell the story? I think is your comment says, which is we don't have to keep the part A, part B, here, goes there. Doesn't have to be like that. And that's amazing, from electronic music all the sides related to hip hop and all that. That is like we are breaking rules, we are creating new forms. And these new forms are amazing also. But at the same time, breaking form, you need to be even more interest on how to create contrast if you're not creating different sections. So I'm not creating different sections. How can I create a flow of something that is, because if I'm for 3 minutes listening the same thing again, there are a lot of artists that you do have that, like, you know, like even like long solos and all that. But these, you know, these artists first, if you're doing something live, is different. If minutes of thing, I don't know if we keep attention for that long.
Candida,
But anyways, I think that we're all yes.
Your internet is cutting out really bad.
Mine?
Yeah. Is there any way you can like move, or is your laptop by something? No.
No. It's like sounding.
Right.
Let me see. I'll check mine. Everybody's hearing that? Everybody's hearing my internet breakdown? Yes?
Hear you now.
Ooh, should I disconnect and connect again? I'm right beside my router here.
It's not terrible, but it does keep dropping out.
Okay. Okay, should we try to continue maybe? Or should I turn off and come back? Let's try to continue. So good point. And thank you, Corey. Thank you, Jeff, for this. And thank you, Darshan. Yes, cool. We want to hear more from you. We want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for giving me, you know, the platform to share this music with you. And I appreciate your feedback. You know, that's what I always look for. I'm just trying to grow any way I can as an artist. So yeah, that's all I really got to say. And also thank you to everybody else who gave me input. I'll be reading all these back. And I'm ready for whatever else anybody has to present. I'll definitely be sticking around for that.
Cool. Okay, great. So I'm moving to Nathan now. Nathan, let's see you. Want to give us some context for your track and what you're looking for?
Yeah, I just wanted to catch up and hang out in feedback, so I decided to make something yesterday. I know how you teach, so I mean, this isn't like vocals and chords or anything like that, but I think back in the day when you first taught me what a chord was, one of your big feedbacks was always, I think with any sort of like tech house, bass house music, it's really about like the flow of the track, you know, just the energy flow. So I think it would be helpful just to get feedback if I did that well, if I'm able to do that well now, as far as keeping the energy properly engaging throughout the whole thing. But it is a very like bass housey kind of tech house track, so arrangement mostly, feedback would be helpful. And also maybe if the break is too long, it's a very long break in this, and I try to do a little bit longer break and keep it somewhat interesting, so that would be curious to see if that worked, or if it should be maybe if it's just drawn out too much or not keeping attention.
Okay, let's listen. Cool.
Yeah, so the internet screwed that up pretty badly. It was cutting out pretty badly. I'll send a link of the actual
Sorry.
track so people can maybe listen.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That's appreciated.
And then you guys can feel free to give me feedback whenever.
How do I copy
You want
that?
you want guys to disconnect and for me to disconnect and connect again, or maybe Thomas, do you play there on your end? Thomas, are you there?
Yeah, I could try to play it. Let's just give it a. I'll pull up this link Nathan just dropped, and we'll see.
Okay.
Let's just give it a quick test and see if.
While there's Nathan, share with me something. So this track is not
Sorry, go ahead.
Is it that?
But you cut out, so I missed your question.
Nathan. Oh, really? Oh, what do you think?
Yeah, you're still cutting out. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Can't hear you, Candida.
Yeah, maybe you should disable your Wi-Fi and then re-enable it just to see if it refreshes.
Yeah, exactly. Let me come back to see because it's so clear for me here. Let me see. Okay, I'll disconnect and come back just a second here.
And then we just rejoin, right?
All right. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to share my screen right now and see if this works.
Thomas, get a haircut.
I know, so bad. All right, you can see my internet now. This is it, Nathan?
Yeah.
All right.
It's better.
It sounds good on my end. Like I'm sure it did for Candida, but
yeah. So we're just getting
better.
Yeah, we're just gonna get the like less. We're gonna get the like whatever. It's fine. I really don't need that much feedback. Like for the most part, you guys are welcome to listen on your own time and like shoot me. And so, because with these kind of tracks, it's like really all about the sound, the energy. So if it's not there or the bass isn't hitting right, it's gonna seem a little. Yeah, I guess see that's exactly it's how it's coming through.
So did it sound though noticeably better?
Not better enough for I think it to be given proper feedback.
It sounds like we're hearing it off laptop speakers.
Yeah. I don't hear any bass at all, and I'm using very good headphones.
Is there anything better in my sound here?
You might be a little better internet.
Is that better now for me?
That sounds pretty good
so far.
Hard to say.
Okay. Yep. You guys want to listen to the track again, or should we talk about comments? Could you listen? No. Was that too bad?
It was.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, it was speeding up and cutting out and slowing down and cutting up and.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody had the same result as Nathan. I'm just worried if this is on your end there, or if everybody had the same. So should we play that again?
I experienced what Nathan I think was experiencing, on my end at least.
You didn't have the same experience?
He did.
I did.
You did. Okay, so let's do again the same.
And if Candida, and if it doesn't play well, then that's fine. I can always get feedback from people on the side. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No. We're here for this. What is
all right.
this? No.
All right.
No, let's do it.
Right.
Do you guys want to play from another computer? Maybe you want to play from yours?
We tried from Thomas's, and it's
didn't work well. I have a pretty big system here to play internally in my computer. That's why the sound gets good from mine. So let's try from me again. If it breaks, can you please like text me and say, okay, let's try from a different end? Okay. So let's hear. Let's go again. Sorry, let me share the screen here. Forgot to share screen. Sorry. Nope. What's going on? Yeah. Now, yes, did it work now?
That was pretty good.
Cool. Okay, cool. So Nathan, my comment for you. I don't think this is wrapped. We still need more work on that, right? So I'm definitely needing more lead synths to create more elements here in our story here where I'm so especially after the breaks at 107 and then there is another one on 117 and then the process of the building up I agree with Corey, like to create some kind of effect. Not I'm not being so specific like what to do, but creating more elements that will create us that will generate on us this idea of more dynamic and more nuances on sound and on music elements, right? So combining the two things, how can we combine these two things to create more story for this one, for this narrative here? So I am looking for more sense here, sir. Also, I agree that we have a lot of elements in mid and mid low, right? So we have a lot of you're exploring a lot the center of the octaves down. So we have a male voice. We have a lot of instruments that they are like around C4 and low. So I am also suggesting you to bring some higher sense here to spread, always thinking on this idea of the octaves, right? So I like always to think on the arrangement as something that we can explore like multiple octaves in the arrangement. So we have these balanced frequencies in your song. So this is something interesting for you to pay attention to this one. We have a lot of things that are not so that could be creating more interesting elements in higher octaves also. I am in this build up definitely needs a little bit more material. We need more I was thinking on even another riff because it's a nice one, but then needs a dialogue, something that dialogues with that other one. Somebody wants to add something here to my comments?
I would agree. I'd say it's a really solid foundation for like a great track. Just maybe a little bit more action going on, some bigger transitions than that, but overall like a really great starting point.
Thomas, you're becoming a musician, huh? Or were you a musician before? Are you
Yeah, a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so like with the bass house references that I use, a lot of times they do stay away from a lot of the higher frequencies. I feel like it's hard for me to go up there for some reason. I just made this yesterday, so it's just a foundation. So I didn't expect.
So when I say high, it can be higher than where you are also, which is not like a whole instrument. I understand where you're coming from. You wanted to have like a darker track, but sometimes it can be like a transition. You are using here some sense that they are touching these high frequencies somehow, and it can be like one element, one call, and then disappear. You understand? It doesn't have to be
Yep.
consistent. Can be
I mean,
something that you can add and take it out, just like to create some flash of something new, and then you take it out again.
Yeah, it's nice to hear because the low end is such a difficult thing to lock down that's usually where I start. And then I feel like once I lock that in, then I can go in, and then I think it's easier to add in some like higher sense shots or to take a bass line and like flip it and then add it to a different octave or something. So definitely
I mean, yeah.
agree.
I mean, I like the minimalism of the track, but for me, like when you take away the super sub bass element and you keep the top square lead piece of it, like to me, I want like a more interesting melodic counter melody there, because otherwise it's kind of just like a weaker version of what we were just hearing into the stronger version of the same thing we were just hearing. Whereas if you just like shifted that to be like another counter melody of some kind, then when it comes back with more force, I feel like. If
Which
you
is
wanted
actually
to keep it super minimal.
It's actually funny because that's how I had it start. That's how it was kind of yesterday. And then around like 2 a.m., I listened to a reference track that did the opposite and just took the previous bass line and just brought it into the break. And I was like, oh, let me try this instead. And then I got tired of mixing and I just gave up and I was like, I'm just going to see where this goes. But yeah, I actually completely agree. I that was the biggest thing I was worried about is I kind of just feel like that one particular bass synth plays throughout the whole track, and for some bass house tracks that works really well, but for others sometimes it just doesn't, especially I think when there's such a long break throughout the whole thing. So if anything, I might even take that bass synth out in that break and just do something completely different just to switch it up. So
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's good to hear the
I
feedback.
think my only feedback is just like, because this is something that even the song I brought today, I made it before I started getting a better handle on. Like, when you have less elements, or you're going to go for more like a minimalist production, it's like that same amount of effort that you would put into doing an entire orchestra, doing like hundreds and hundreds of tracks. You end up still like using it. You end up pushing it towards automation and like having the tracks, like having your sounds like grow and shape and shift over time. So they end up being like a lot of different sounds. I understand like the automation, that's like, that just that takes hours, and like you made this yesterday, so I don't expect it to be there, but I would say that I would be excited to hear how that element would come into it.
Yeah, I would say try to listen to the actual SoundCloud link if you haven't yet, just because it's hard to hear it through this quality, but there's actually quite a bit of automation in everything.
For sure.
So I think just giving it, like actually hearing it just through your own headphones you might have a different perspective on that.
I definitely don't doubt that, because like with the band pass of Zoom.
yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nathan.
Very
really
nice
fun.
Track. Yeah, very nice
Super
track.
fun.
To come nice. Okay, cool. Let's move forward. So next one, Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Oh shit.
Hey, you. You guys seeing the track here?
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Jeff, I forgot to ask you about the context of this track. Can you talk a little bit?
Just I was kind of using. Well, it's actually not. It ended up not being John Talbot-esque. My reference was Todd Terje. He makes like kind of whimsical instrumental electronic music in sort of in this vein.
I liked it.
That's
Very
it.
much.
Are you planning? Is it a work in progress? Is it ready for you? You were already working on sound. What do you have this? Where in which stage are you?
I would say it's still working at the arrangement, but also even just the sections. Like, are they the right sections? Does it flow properly? Does it need something else or something different? So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress on the early side of things.
I feel like I need a second listen. What do you
I
guys
kind of
feel?
feel the same way actually.
Isn't it? I feel like I need a second listen here.
It also
Yeah, it's like
it also needs a drop. Just kidding.
I wouldn't say it need a drop, but
I was joking.
I would say it's like a journey. You start at the beginning, and in the end, it's a little bit like you want to listen to it again to see if you're missing something. It's like a whole world, and there are so many objects in there, and there are so many little lines and lyrics and instrument lines, and it's very impressive how the sounds combine together to this like it's like underwater journey or something like that. Yeah.
So you know what is interesting? Why we're thinking that we feel another one. It's interesting you're saying this. When we think in the beginning of the minimalist technique, right? So we had the transitions happening. There was no break. There was no idea of drop, right? And that's the beginning. And the electronic music received a lot of influence from classical techniques of composition, which is comes from like composers from the middle of last century, and it was exactly this idea of something transforming into something, transforming. There was no section, and it's so interesting because then recent like tracks, then we have everything so well divided that it's easy for us to grab the idea in chunks of information. This one is it has exactly this idea of I'm transforming, and then I am like, wow, where did we start? It's a little bit of like an ecstasy feeling. It's like I got like, I don't know, dizzy with the track. Something happened here. It's in, which is a good sign. I think it's a good sign. It's like, oh, what happened with this? What was this track? What kind of journey was this one? So, you guys mind if we take a look a little bit again? Let's take a little bit,
Okay.
let's go a little. Okay. Can I talk in parts? So let me say something here. So when we don't want to talk, maybe internet, is that something problem? Oh, okay. I thought I was having problem with. Okay, so look what we have here. So when we don't want to add instruments or take out instruments, taking the advantage of automation definitely is something very important. Automation and filters, right? To create nuances on that sound that will help so much. And definitely, that's what I feel like I'm missing from here. Jeff, like working more on sound design to sculpt the melodies and the transitions and all that. Also, something like this, I wouldn't be shy to start maybe just with this bass or just with the keys, starting really minimal and then adding the things, creating really more and more transition in between that. Then this transition that just happened here, I felt like, why? So fast. Like I needed something a little bit more clear. I don't know. Something, let me see here. No, no, no. Something before this. You see? I felt like that could be so smooth, one and blending into the other, and then suddenly I lost what happened. I was like, wait, where did we go here? Right? So having this idea a little bit more clear or more gently moved into the other, I'm moving a little bit more with that. What happened? Okay, I'll pause here. Jeff, I would say definitely it's a very interesting idea. We have a fast change of chords happening there, right? So we have a lot of chords. It's a track that has a lot of information also, similar to the idea we said about Maya. So when we have multiple layers, ideas changing too much, no, changing a lot. We do have to help way more with sound design, with automations on volume, on frequency, like helping these instruments come in and out more gently so that they come in, they blossom, and they fade out. So having more this transition, not the whole time, but like how they enter and how they leave the track could be a little bit more interesting to create a storytelling there.
Mhm.
Does anybody here wants to add something?
I said this in the chat, but I think the chords that like come in there are just really, it's a really nice sound design or sound choice. It really adds to the mood of the track. But that's just a small piece of feedback, but I thought that was really nicely implemented.
This is basically, it goes along with my, in quarantine, I've been exploring chords. So yeah, it just, because the initial part works on fifths, like 5 chords. So then like I kept the same bass and groove thing that's going on, and then I was able to do this like descending progression like that, and everything else fit. So kind of keeps consistent, except I switched out the chords.
Gotcha. Sounds like the chord studying is paying off.
But yeah, I definitely agree. The transitions, and then I also was doing some mixing stuff to bring up the high frequencies. And then once I did that, I noticed that there wasn't enough movement in some of the pads that I'm holding onto. So then it feels a little too static. So I think there needs to be more kind of like waves of those chord changes where it feels more
And I'll
dynamic.
tell you what, the kind of pad that you're using there. So, the pads, when all these pads that they have this long attack that is not like attack like this, the way you press the keys, right, it will determine how the sound will come up if the attack is going to be too high. So in some of them we are having the band, well, in some others we are not. So there's also some difference in between the ways you're playing the chords. So take a look at that to review some of them, how the attacks of the chords are happening there, because we are having some of them that are not equal to the other one, unless you want that very irregular also, which also could be an option. Okay.
Yeah, that was the intent, because there's like this portamento effect on the chord attack. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's kind
Okay.
of, yeah, it's kind of random, sort of, depending on how I played it in every time.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. So these pads, they are very dangerous of how to play them, because depending on how fast you press the key, that bend will happen faster or even not happen, depending on how you press those keys. So sometimes we have to redo it to get it more equal in between them. It is related to the speed you lower the key. Okay.
So I guess my biggest, or one of my other questions is like the part that comes in with the kind of like synth solo, if you will. Like, do you think that works?
Towards the end, do you remember the minute here?
Probably somewhere where your mouse is ish.
One, where?
Somewhere like right there, probably. I don't
Here?
know.
Let me see here. Sorry?
Like 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Are you talking about this solo specifically? If it works with the track? I do like solo. Depending on the track, I also like to have something stable and not everybody saying anything. But I think it works well because you took like 2 minutes to build like a ground in which we are like floating with the music that you created, that favorite rhythmic, creating that ground, and then you come with the solo. I do like that idea, but that's a taste thing also. But I would keep that. Any ideas?
What was the last thing that you had said?
I said that it's a taste thing about the solo, right? But I do think that it works with the track.
Okay.
I also like the timbre that you use for that, the sound that is in there. I like that. I would work a little bit on the kind of melody you did that, especially in the beginning, because the track is super rich. Dun, 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 dun. So if we could have a solo that works inside that, not with this rhythm, but that can work a little bit more accurate in rhythm, that could be work. Or don't be shy, like choose long notes on solos. Solos are nice when they start like tweet, and then you start giving more movement, that you can explore more the idea of long notes, short notes, that can be floating with, dialoguing with the track that you just created. I'm sure you in the beginning. You see here, I lose you a little bit. Rhythmically, it's inaccurate, so I lost you a little bit. And it's just like redoing this. I lost you here, right? So if I'm having a rhythmic track, it's really important for you to be on the grid, to be like dialoguing with whatever is happening. Dun, 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 dun. So having this, interesting flow with what is happening there, or a long one, but the attack being really like, connected to whatever is hit. It's just like when you have a drummer, right? You're playing the show live. So it's important for you to be matching that also. It creates a nice and interesting feeling for two who is listening to that. Any new ideas here? No? So let's move forward. So then we have our last track now. Okay.
I'm
Corey.
going to stop the stream now.
Yeah,